How's it going, everybody? Sorry, let me just get some water here. All right, give it a few minutes and let some people come on in before we get to the topic. Just go ahead and say right now, I appreciate everyone that comes out and that hangs out and sees this. And just appreciate it. Thanks for the support. And we'll go from there. All right, let me see. Okay, there we go. All right. Got my coffee too. I got some coffee and some water. Oh, I hope everyone is having a great evening so far. Hope everyone's doing well out there. Howdy, howdy. Thanks for showing up. Come on in, guys. Give it a minute. Let some more people, hopefully some more people show up. If not, we'll just jump right into it and start, getting into the topic. So we can just go ahead and just say, hello, Gromies. All right. Just be out there and say hello, Gromies. Thanks for coming, guys. All right, so tonight we're going to be talking about one of the best things that growers will go after besides potency, and that's terpenes. Gotta have the terps, right? And I'm pretty sure for all you new growers, if you hear, people commenting, hey, is that terpy? Is that terpy? You know how much terps it's got? What's the level of terps? That's definitely what some of the growers will go after besides potency, because you definitely want some kick-ass flower too. You want to grow some pretty potent stuff. You don't want no weak stuff. Usually nobody does. I mean, unless you're starting out new, then I can understand if you're going to grow some less potent stuff, in the 22% range and stuff like that, which is still pretty stony, I think. Anywho, that's for another conversation. So, all right. We're going to talk about terpenes, guys, and everything. I'm going to break it down to you guys, and what terpenes, what they actually are, how cannabis produces them. We're going to go over the biggest ways growers can naturally increase their terpene production from germination all the way from harvest and curing. To harvest, drying, and curing. Got to have that dry and cure right too, because a lot of people think they're out of the woods once they get those fat nugs and they cut them down. You're not out of the woods yet. You still got that dry and cure. You got to have that on point, or else you'll get a lot of that hay smelling, tasting. I mean, it just tastes like crap, smells like hay. We don't want that. Definitely not. So with the terps, let's see what I mean, we got all kinds of different terps out there. There's gassy, there's fruity, there's skunky or dessert. Guys, let me know. Drop it in chat. What's your guys' favorite terps? What do you guys like in cannabis? What do you guys go shop out for? When you go to dispensaries, or if you have a homie that sells it down the road, and he usually has some pretty good shit, or whatever. However, wherever you get it, your cannabis or your medicine from, whether you grow it yourself, just let me know down in chat whether you like that gassy stuff, that skunky, dessert. Let's see, I personally like that gassy diesel. I like that, and chemical. Sometimes it's got a chemical taste. I like it. I don't know. It's weird. A lot of people hate it, but I enjoy it. I don't know. I guess I'm a weird. Anywho, but definitely, guys, let me know. Let me know what you guys prefer, what you guys go after, what kind of terps that you guys prefer. And if you're new to growing, thanks for tuning in now, guys. And I'm going to explain to you what terpenes what they are. So their terpenes are they're compounds found in cannabis that give the plant its smell and its flavor. So if you ever opened up a bag, someone was like, hey, smell this, it smells really loud. And I mean really loud, and you're like, whoa, that smells really super dank. That's terpenes. That's how that terpenes has a big part. The smell and the flavor, the taste that you get too when you smoke. And like, for instance, like if you ever had cannabis that had a lemon smell to it, that's terpenes. If it had a piney smell to it, also terpenes. If it smelled like gas or candy, skunk, fruit, diesel, those are all terpenes. And cannabinoids like THC and CBD get most of the attentions, but terpenes are definitely what make the strains unique, guys. Those are what gives it, where it's like, oh, hey, homie down the road has such and such, while homie down here has snickle fritz, and that stuff sucks. But homie over here has got, this and this, and, it's pretty bomb diggity and it smells pretty loud. Terpenes, definitely. So, and that's what a lot of growers are after. They want that terpy stuff. And also, to achieve high levels of terpenes, we're going to go over that this evening on how to achieve. There's a bunch of ways, guys, that we can go and make your cannabis plant give you a bunch of terps. And I'm going to definitely go over it with you guys. So stay tuned, definitely. And if we get a bunch of people, guys, I'll definitely might have a giveaway. We'll probably do a giveaway here, and I'll let you guys know here pretty soon what the giveaway will be. Or here, let me tell you what, as a matter of fact, here, for those of you watching right here. So we've got a little tray right here. There's the lid, magnetic, it's got a magnetic lid. It's got a tray, but it comes with a Ruderalis Rex pack. So this is going to be the part of the giveaway here, guys. It's going to be a weed tray here. I got the lid for it right here, headspace. But inside of it is going to be Ruderalis Rex pack, guys. It's going to have, my Ruderalis Rex sticker, have a keychain on it. It's got a wristband and 6 magic beans, guys. Okay, I got 6 magic beans in there for you guys to do what you will with. But yeah, definitely, if it's pretty good, everyone sticks around. Hey, cheers, Monkey Man. Hey, how you doing? Thanks for showing up, man. I appreciate you. Thanks for showing up. That's what's up, man. So definitely you guys stick around. I'll have a giveaway here. It is domestic only though, guys. So I can only do it in the United States. So it's a United States giveaway only. I apologize for those that are watching that are out of the United States. Maybe later on, as I become a bigger channel, I'll be able to do bigger things like that, guys. But for a moment now, it's pretty pricey on my end, and that's going to be the honest truth. Yes, definitely. Did you? Yeah. I hope you like it, man. Definitely. I hope you like that giveaway. Plenty. I got plenty more, but like I said, I think if I'm mistaken, I think you're in Canada, but I want to do United States only from now on, just for now, and only just until I get bigger as a channel, and then definitely I will start doing worldwide. I'll start doing giveaways and stuff like that for everybody. Okay, so back to the terps, back to the topic. Okay, so all right, so terpene levels can vary depending on. You got your genetics. It depends on your environment. For instance, let me just say this: so terpenes, it's not all one size fits all in any cannabis plant. So you can grow any cannabis. You can grow 7 different cannabis plants, and they're all 7 are going to have all different levels of terpenes because of genetics. It's just genetics, and then also what plays a role is environment. Your environment. If you don't have it dialed in, well, maybe sometimes that won't be a bad thing. Not necessarily, especially towards the end in flower. And what I mean by that is that you'll be close to on the ripening stage in flower, and you want to stress it out a little bit, because stressing out a plant a little bit will produce more trichomes, and trichomes is what a cannabis plant produces to protect itself. And terpenes are compounds found in the resin glands in trichomes. So in essence, if you have more trichomes, oh, nice, awesome, heck yeah, glad to hear it, Monkey Man. I'm glad to hear that. Heck yeah, definitely keep me in tune on how it grows up. You could send me photos, give me shout outs on that stuff, man. Heck yeah, dude, I'd be more stoked. All right. All right, excuse me there. I was taking a drink of coffee, guys. Yeah, so you got, your environment. Like I said, if you don't have it dialed in, like I said, sometimes it can be a little bit Yeah, for sure. Appreciate it. Yeah, sometimes it can be good in essence to stress out your plant a little bit, but not too much, obviously, because if you've ever grown a cannabis plant and you stressed it out just to see what would happen, then obviously you would see that it made it pretty damn sick quick, or you can kill it quick, uh, especially if it's a seedling. Yeah, seedlings are very finicky. Definitely the baby stage, like if you had an actual newborn or something like that, they're definitely finicky. You got to make sure they have plenty of this, plenty of that, da da da. Anywho, so you got to have your environment dialed in for the most part, but it's not so bad if you don't have it dialed in because stress will produce trichomes in a cannabis plant because the cannabis plant will produce it as a defense mechanism in return for having to deal with the stress. So you got more trichomes. In essence, you'd have more terpenes. So another is nutrients. They have different nutrients that are out there, different nutrient lines that you can use that'll help. Not necessarily, it'll be like, oh, if you feed your cannabis plant this nutrient, you'll have terps guaranteed. Nope, not necessarily. Um, what 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 happens is it's all in a microorganism level, microbe level. You know what I mean, with your microbes in your soil and stuff that it breaks down different sugars and stuff like that, so your plant can uptake different nutrients at different pH levels and stuff like that. And nutrients do play a part in terpenes, yes, if you're using them correctly. And we'll dive into that, but that's a really big topic on its own, just nutrients in itself. You also have drying and curing that play a big role on your terps because you don't want to grow some badass weed and then make it all the way to the end and then just to have your dry and your cure just be garbage. All of a sudden you go pop that jar open, you're like ready, like, yes, it's been a month, let me see where it's at. You pop that jar and you go and smell and you're like, whoa, what the hell, where did I go wrong? And you got a big hay smell and stuff like that. And that's because of the harvest, the dry. You gotta dial in that dry and the cure. So that's another thing that helps with terpenes. Yeah, and so here are some ways that cannabis plants. Let me explain this. So here's some ways that cannabis plants produce terpenes. They do it if you have a bunch of pests that they get near on, or if we have a bunch of pests that are on them and stuff like that, and they're trying to become resilient to them. They'll try to build a tolerance, so they'll produce more trichomes to get the pests off, which is a great thing, I guess, in essence. But you don't want a bunch of pests to give you a bunch of trichomes. There's other ways that you can get a bunch of trichomes. You're getting your cannabis plant to produce a bunch of trichomes without the pest part. But if you do have a pest problem, sometimes it'll help. Maybe. UV rays. If it's an outside grow, UV rays will produce. It's like their sunscreen. The cannabis will produce its own sunscreen by producing more trichomes, and that'll help it during UV rays and stuff like that. Diseases, same. Diseases and harsh weather will definitely produce definitely will produce some trichomes, and then with the trichomes that you'll have more terpenes. So a little bit of stress can go a long way. No heavy stress, like if you're trying to super crop and stuff like that, guys. So hey, in chat, guys, I want you to drop me in chat right here right now, what's the loudest strain you guys have ever grown or smoked? Just let me know, guys. Give you guys a couple seconds here. Yeah, what's the loudest strain you guys ever grown or smoked? Drop it in chat. Or if you watch this live later, leave a comment and let me know later. Hey, let me know all these questions I asked for live chat. Let me know, guys. That's for you guys out there as well. Let's see. All right, what's next, guys? We got, genetics. Let's start with genetics. If you have good genetics, you'll have one that produces a lot of terpenes that'll produce a lot of trichomes, which is great, which is amazing, and is what we're after. Because everyone's after that next best thing, that unicorn out there, that very tasty weed. Which definitely nothing wrong with that. It's a bit tough, and so some of the examples here, some examples of some really heavy terpy stuff, guys. You got guava jelly, you got skunk number one. Skunk number one, super terpy. You got Girl Scout cookies, you got silver haze, and you've got tangy. Now, Tangy's pretty terpy. I do like Tangy, and sometimes Tangy has that citrusy terpenes in there, which is amazing. It's really good. I like it. I don't mind the citrusy part of herb and all that. Still pretty good, I think. Yeah. What's another thing that produces, more trichomes that'll in essence give you more terpenes? Your soil and microbes. High quality soil will help out, especially if it's live. If you're doing live soil, definitely you get some very terpy stuff with live soil. And any organic grower will tell you that for sure. At least I think. Hey, let me ask you guys a question. What do you think, and what type of grow style will produce the most terps? You got soil, you got DWC, you got cocoa. You got there's all kinds out there. Let me know in chat. Leave a comment. And yeah, definitely let me know. If you've got good high quality, if you start with good high quality soil, your nutrient uptakes will definitely be a lot better, especially your pH will stabilize, hopefully. If you watch it and get it in that range, it'll usually buffer out itself out and stabilize in living soil, which is nice, because sometimes maybe you forget, or sometimes you got to feed it a high pH, a high alkaline pH, or hopefully not too acidic, because cannabis plants do like it a little bit of acid. They do like a little bit of acidity in their water. Sorry, I'm rambling. All right, so with those terps and those strains, all those strains that I mentioned that are really heavy and terps and stuff like that, a lot of growers will go and seek out and then start breeding those ones with some of the ones that they're probably working on, and that's how you get some really cool stuff from people growing in their garage. Every 10 years or something, some bomb ass strain comes out, which is amazing, which is cool. I think it's a lot of hard work and dedication and stuff like that. And okay, so you also got your beneficial microbes and bacteria, guys. You got that converts sugars into compounds, plants that uses to produce more trichomes, more cannabinoids, and more terpenes. Who here right now is running in live soil? Let me know in chat if you guys are running live soil. Definitely let me know. We've got some other stuff here that produces more trichomes and all that. All right, guys, we got carbohydrates and amino acids. So cannabis plants, they need carbohydrates throughout their entire life cycle, especially during flower and bud ripening. They gotta have it. It's good. If you want big buds, you gotta have the carbohydrates, and that's a lot of the sugars and stuff like that, which you'll find, and some of the nutrients. You got bud candy. You got a lot of bloom nutrients and all that. That will help out molasses, sugar and stuff like that. That's that. So what you're necessarily doing there is that sugary stuff that you have is you're feeding that into your soil, into the microbes. They're eating that, and in return, they're letting the cannabis plant, the roots, uptake a lot of nutrients, and a lot of phosphorus and stuff like that, which will help make your buds ripen up. So you got your amino acids that help out. They play a big role in that. You've got your fulvic acid that also plays a big role. Humic humic acid. I'm pretty sure you guys seen that, and that comes sometimes you'll buy soil where it says humic acid inside. If you turn it to the back, and sometimes you'll read the nutrients and stuff like that. You know, you got your NPKs, and then it'll let you know what other stuff it's got in there, and sometimes it'll list off humic acid, which yeah, cannabis plants need humic acid, and your carbohydrate supplements. That's normally towards flowering and bud ripening. Um, in the end of flower and stuff like that. And yeah, you know, so so you can also, okay, so there's stress techniques, guys, that you can do also that can produce a lot of trichomes. Some of them can be controversial too, a little bit, you know, like mainlining, super cropping. You know, some people will swear by it, some people won't. um, and it just, you know, it all depends on who you are, what you've done, and what you know. uh, yeah, I mean, that's, I guess what it all comes down to is experience too, guys. You know, you gotta have experience. If you don't, then really, you know, then you don't know about it if you don't have the experience. So yeah, so that's why it's becomes controversial, because some people will swear by it, some people won't. Some people say it works, some people say it doesn't. Some people say it hurts the plant and, you know, hurts your yield. Some people say it doesn't. So, you know, it's just it's a ball back and forth. Anyway, um, you got you know, stress techniques. I'm a big fan of believing that yes, some stress techniques that you can use. LST, low stress training. I am a big fan of that. Using bud clips, bending over, and then leaf tucking. One of big fans of that. Now I do have to defoliate. Now if I do have to go in there like Edward Scissorhands, I make sure that I don't go and take way too much off to stress the plant out, especially because I like to grow autos. And I mean, autos are already finicky as they are, so if you stress them out too much, then bam, there goes your yield. And that's a for real thing. You know, you can just see it like that in your auto if you stress it out, because there's no coming back from that. So every time you stress your auto out, you lose some yield and potential terpene loss, trichome loss, stuff like that. But I am a big fan of the low stress training and leaf tucking. I do believe those will achieve a very vigorous and bushy plant that you can definitely get a lot of tops on. And with the stress will come with more trichomes being produced and more terpenes. Make that, you know, make that grow loud, make it super loud. And so I am a fan of stress techniques. Um, Now, some of them, like super cropping, like okay, so personally, guys, I've never super cropped, so I have no idea if super cropping would make my yield go from, you know, maybe 6 ounces if I did it low LST, low stress training, and I got maybe 6 ounces off of that, or if I super cropped and all of a sudden I got 10 ounces just because I super cropped. Now I don't know if that's how, I don't know if that'll work or not, you know, just because I've never super cropped. So that being said, you know, there's different, you know, lollipopping will help create some trichomes and terpenes, you know, doing that defoliation, because then all that energy doesn't get used up on that lower stuff, guys. It all goes up to the top where the nugs are, and that's exactly where we want it. We want all that energy being focused on the top of your canopy, ripening buds, you know, getting those buds nice and fat. That's where we want. We want that terpy stuff, guys. We definitely want that terpy stuff. Nobody wants weak smelling flower. You know, who wants that? Let's be honest. Yeah. And so you got, you know, super cropping. Like I said, you got super cropping. Yes, super cropping does produce a lot of trichomes and a lot of terpenes, I am told, and my research does prove yes, that is correct, that it does. Now, how much? Now, is it better than low stress training and leaf tucking and doing stuff like that? I don't know. That would be a good comparison to do a side by side grow. Maybe I can do something like that in the future. Um, do a grow like that. That would show, and maybe keep it the same strain. So yeah, would do the same strain, and then, you know, do super cropping on one, and then LST on the other one, and then see which one comes out more terpier. That's something. That's something I could do, guys. Definitely. Maybe that'll be in the works in the future. I am working with the 2x2 right now, so I am trying to make as much content as I can that I am allowed to make off of that, because there's only so much that you can fit in a 2x2, and that's it. Then I'm overcrowded. Um, so you can lower your humidity to get more terpenes. Trichomes, it'll, so you start drying out the place real quick, and maybe if you start getting it really cold towards the end of flower, that's how you start getting purple bud. You start seeing that purple coming out in your herb. You gotta love that beautiful purple coming out. Yeah, that's the cannabis plant protecting itself, and it'll also produce more trichomes towards the end. And with the more trichomes comes more terpenes. So, yes, so we definitely want that. Um, Now, with everything that I've listed so far and all the different methods, between nutrients, between adding carbohydrates and amino acids, to stress techniques, to, I mean, you got your soil and microbes, to your genetics, um, all that, you it'll it'll all play a big part. Now, I'm not saying to do everything that I suggested, because you do that and that plant will probably not make it. Now, if you paired and pick and choose, and we say, just be like, okay, for instance, like, all right, I'll pick the genetics. I'll pick out some really terpy to start with, and then I'll do LST and try that, and just stick with that and see how much terpiness you can get with that, because you are still stressing out the plant doing low stress training. And it will produce a bunch of trichomes still and terpiness, but you don't want to overdo it. You don't want to overstress the plant out, because then it's not going to get what you want. You want that terpiness, you want that loud flower, you want to achieve that loud flower. It's just not going to happen if you you know if yeah, guys, if you start doing all this stuff, all these techniques into it at one, like, you start super cropping it, you start, and then after that, then lollipopping it immediately, then that's a bunch of stress on that plant. Now, maybe you might get some fire at the end, but your yield is definitely going to be impacted. Now, not that yield should be a thing, but if you're going to grow, you want to grow and have it, you want a good harvest at least. You don't want to grow an eighth, 3.5 grams on a plant. That would break my heart if I ever grown something like that, which I have before. I've grown an auto that produced something like that. I think it was like 4 grams, if that. Um, yeah, broke my heart right away. Anyway, you got, so you got other stuff too that can produce a lot of trichomes, and those are controversial as well, like ice flushing. Where you put ice on the top, you put a bunch of ice on the top of your soil, and then just keep pouring water, cold water through, where you're almost shocking the root system. That's another way that people sometimes will produce more terpenes. Trichomes that will produce more terpenes. You've got stem splitting. Not a fan of that, because that'll usually attract pests and diseases and stuff like that. So not a huge fan of that, but that is still a way, guys. That's still a way for you to go out and get some more trichomes on that cannabis plant, and just a huge way. A high stress training, is what that is. And then you got extreme stress techniques, like topping, excessive topping, would be a high and extreme stress training technique. And it can go both ways. You can either stress it out and kill your plant, which is too much topping. I've seen it happen. Or you just top a few here and there, and then let it be, and then let it get bushy and let it do its thing, and then lollipop. Maybe like at the beginning, the first second week of flower, and then lollipop it up and stuff like that. I think that will help out tremendously. But but I don't know. As far as super cropping and mainlining, guys, I've never ever done it, so I'm not sure on that. But some growers were swear by it, So that's awesome. I think I'll have to look into that, dive into those techniques, and maybe just you know swallow my pride and spend some money on some genetics to super crop them, and if they die, they die. And that's just the one thing I don't want to do, is just grow something and have it die, but if I need to, and that's and that's the only way that I need to learn how to do it for super cropping, well then I guess that's what I'll do. So maybe that in the future, maybe I'll try the super cropping and see how that compares up to low stress training, and leaf tucking. Yeah. So all right, let's see. So on ice flushing, guys, what do you think? Do you think it's bro science, or do you think it's legit? Let me know. Tell me in chat, guys. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. If you think ice flushing is a legit thing, or if you swear by it, or if you heard someone else do it and they swear by it, let me know. Let me know if that's a good thing to do. Let me know how many of you guys have done that. Let me know in chat. All right, you've got what else is there? Oh, you've got lighting and CO2. Your lights and CO2 will also play a big part in how many trichomes and terpenes and stuff like that you're gonna not eventually end up with, because that can vary between your environment. I mean, you got to have everything dialed in if you want to grow that, loud fire right at the end. You pop it in that jar, you got it curing, and you dried it correctly, assuming that it was dried correctly, and then put in the jars to cure. I mean, then you're golden, so what I've noticed with lighting and CO2, it's only going to get your plant, and I think it should only be used in veg, and here's why: because that's where it takes most of it gets most of its energy, and it'll start pumping like a steam train. Boop, boop. It'll just keep growing, and I mean quick, especially if you're in cocoa or DWC, especially DWC. I mean, they take off, and that's what you want. You want a bigger plant before you go and flip them into flower, or if it's an auto, you want to try to hurry up and raise that auto to get very big and bushy before it flips to flower. And that would also be your, anybody's main goal, really, to do that. And lighting and CO2 plays a big part, and this is why I believe that it should only be in veg, because too much of it in flower will slow down. Your plant will want to start growing more leaves and stuff like that, which we don't want more leaves in flower. We want that plant to focus on the top of the canopy and the buds, all the bud sites and stuff like that. That's what we want. We want it all focused on that. Yeah, and you got So, a little quick hack too for CO2. Instead of, if you guys don't want to go out and buy your own little CO2 tanks and whatnot, what you can do is get a gallon jug, fill it halfway with some warm sugar water, put a couple cups of sugar water in there, about halfway. Shake it up real good, dissolve that sugar in that water, then add a couple of teaspoons of yeast, close the top of the cap, poke some holes at the top of the cap, shake it up, leave it in the corner of your grow tent, produces CO2. Now, if you do that, the only thing I would suggest is to add more light. So if you're doing 18.6, then you're golden, just leave it like that. But if you're doing anything less than that, I would suggest, if you do add the CO2, to continue with 18 or 6, or even 24-hour lighting if you're doing 24-hour lightings. For instance, if you're growing autos, some people grow autos on 24 hours. I do. Mine are on 24 hours on auto, and that's usually how I get some pretty big autos. Now, I'm not saying it's just the lights alone that do that. Training comes in, you got to take care of them. You got to dial in your environment. Stuff like that plays a really big part on how big your plant gets. Definitely. So if you guys go the CO2 route, definitely add more light to it and only keep it during veg. Now you can use lighting and of course use the lighting during flower, but you can use the CO2 during flower, but you'll notice it'll start slowing down. You won't get much bud production. It'll be more leafy production, which, we don't, like I said, we don't want. So we just want to use the CO2 just through veg to get us through, and then right at flower, and then just cut out the CO2, cut it back, or dial it back, or cut it out completely, either or. And just, yeah, guys, Um, yeah, you guys get it. All right. What else? Oh, harvesting at the right time, guys. That timing matters big time. You gotta, because if you harvest too late, then you have a bunch of ambers, trichomes, and stuff like that that kind of give you more sedation, but then it's more or less potent, And then if you harvest too early, that's not gonna do anything for you. You're not gonna get stoned from it. It's going to be a waste. It was just going to be a waste of money, grow, lights, electricity, nutrients, stuff like that. Um, that's if you harvest way too early. You'll have the lower terpene development, of course, and you'll have lower potency, obviously. Uh, if you harvest too late, you'll have terpene degradation. You'll have a lot of loss of terpene. Now it'll happen. It happens more frequent than growers know it, that you will lose a lot of terpenes regardless of if you're on point, if you got your environment dialed in. It's gonna happen. You have some fragile terpenes out there, or trichomes I should say. The heads, they can be very, 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 very fragile to temperature, to when you touch them or you bump them into things, or if you set it down to pick it back up again, or if you have it to set it down in your drying rack and picking them back up, you'll probably have a little bit of terpene loss and stuff like that. Just very little, guys, not too much, just little, very little. But it happens still, nonetheless. So you got to watch out for your trichomes very closely, guys, because you want that milky, cloudy trichome, and maybe 5% amber, where you can just see maybe 1, 2 amber right there, but mostly they're all cloudy. That's what you want. You want to harvest that right around then, chop them down, and then start your dry and your cure, which is another big step to do. Because you want to make sure you nail that correctly, because if you don't, then you'll have the hay tasting and smelling herb, and nobody wants that. Nobody wants to smoke that. You'll end up having to throw it away, and that was just another waste of time, money, all that stuff. Um, what? So, chat, I'm gonna ask you guys something to hear. Leave in chat here. Do you prefer more cloudy or more amber trichomes when you harvest? What do you guys prefer? Let me know. Let me know in chat. Leave a comment. Um, that'd be most helpful. Lets me know. Lets me know a few things, guys. And yeah, and when it comes to drying and curing, that's going to be a huge for terpene preservation. It's a huge part for drying and curing. Terpenes are volatile compounds, meaning they evaporate easily. Um, Dry too fast or too hot, and you can lose a lot of the aroma and the flavor. Slow drying and proper curing help preserve the flavor, the aroma, the smoothness, and the terpene profiles. Whether it's that piney smell, or that lemony, or that gassy, or the sweet dessert smell, or candy, for that matter. It can you have all those different type of terpenes that smell, that have all those different smells to them. Yeah. What? So my drying setup is, I have it set up to where I have a section in my closet where I put my drying rack, and then on top of that I'll have another drying rack on there, and then from there I'll have my humidifier just barely poking into the closet. Excuse me 1 second here. And I'll have a smart humidifier, by the way, so I can set the humidifier to what I want it at. So I'll set it to 60, obviously. That's where I want the humidity at, is around 60%, especially where I'm at, because I live in such a dry area. And sometimes I might even bump that to 65 on some days. Like I'll give it, one day I'll put it to 65, next day I'll put it to, 60 on my humidifier. Anyway, so you're drying and curing, guys, they play a really big major role. And how I have my setup, like I said, I have it in my closet and stuff like that, which, I think I think that's a pretty decent setup. I got some, I grew some blackberry moon rocks, and that came out really fire. It came out so tasty. And I did, the way I just described it to you guys, with my humidifier in my closet and the drying racks and stuff like that. Then every day I would go in and flip the buds over. I didn't do now. I am in a really dry climate area where it stays about 30% RH or lower, and normally I would, or people would say, hey, why not just cut down the whole plant and hang up the whole plant upside down, and then that'll delay your drying a lot longer as well, which is true, yes. Except that I like to do it in colas. I like to take it in branches. That's just my preference. I like to do it. I've done it like that, and it seems to work out great for me. Everybody's got their own way that they dry and cure that works out for them. Hopefully, if not, I'll end up having. If you're a new grower, let me know in chat if you're a new grower and you need some help with the dry and curing process and you need to learn more about it. I'll do a video, or I can just do a topic on that. We'll do a live, maybe on a Thursday or something. One of the Thursdays. We'll do a live on that. Just let me know in live chat or leave me a comment. Yeah, yeah. You gotta dry and cure. It's all about that dry and cure. You gotta make sure you're on point with that. So if you want your terps to stick around, and chat. Hey guys, let me know right now. Hey, what your dry setup looks like. I described mine. Let me know what your guys looks like. How are you guys drying yours? And if you guys are curing in jars, or you guys doing bags or turkey bags, if we're going old school, yeah, let me know. Let me know what you guys are using, what you guys are doing. Heck yeah, that'd be what's up. All right, let's see here. Now, so if you want to sum it all up, guys, so if you want an overall 100% grow, or you want a great grow with a lot of good terps on there, you got to focus on good genetics. You got to focus on healthy roots. Focus on that root system, guys. Get that root system nice and healthy. Proper environment. You gotta have your environment dialed in. Don't have it too dry. Don't have it too crazy like a rainforest. You need proper environment. Balance stress. Balance that stress out. Whether if you're doing defoliation, LST, or you're super cropping. Let's balance it out. Give that plant some time to come back if it needs to. Yeah, definitely. You wouldn't make somebody that just ran a 25-mile run, get up and run another 25 miles. That would suck. So yeah. Anyway, and correct drying and curing. That's gonna make it too, guys. You know what I mean? So you got good genetics, healthy roots, proper environment, a balanced stress. Keep your stress on that balance, and correct drying and curing. You can nail all that, and you're gonna have some really, really terpy stuff, guys. And that's what we're after. And that's what we're after. Every grower here is after, and that's what I'm after. I'm after some good stuff too, but I'm a medical patient, so I'm more on the medicinal side of it, where I'm looking for more like, okay, does this have more CBD? What does the CBD do? How can that help me? How can that help my PTSD and stuff like that? And so I'll look for the medicinal side of things, but also, heck yeah, I'm still looking for the terps too, guys, and the potency. I want some pretty terpy, some pretty loud weed that's pretty potent. I don't want to smoke 3 bowls of something that barely gets me high. Nobody wants that. That's a waste of time and probably really harsh on your lungs. Um, but yeah, guys, you stick to all those what I just mentioned, what I just shot out there, and you know what, your grow will be on point. And then if you just keep doing that over and over and over, you will have it dialed in, and in no time, bam, you're gonna be a pro. You're gonna be a soldier at this, guys. Yeah, so there's really no single magic trick to be like, oh, add this and this is gonna make it super terpy, and stuff like that. Nope. You got to achieve it by learning, growing along, understanding the plant, understanding how much stress to give it, understanding how much defoliation to give it, how much topping, how much super cropping, how much nutrients, food is it uptaking, how much is it eating. I mean, there's just so many factors that come to play, and your trichome and terpene production. So, that being said, definitely don't try everything I just listed, because that'll probably kill your plant if you tried all those techniques. You'll end up probably overfeeding, overwatering, and then, topping too much, and then, all of a sudden you'll come back 2 days later and the plant is just boom on it's laying down, it's dead. Uh, or you have the strongest cannabis plant in the world. I mean, you'll have the most fire fucking weed, if it survived all that. So yeah. Anyway, guys. Yep. That's pretty much it, guys. That's really all I got on the terp production and stuff. Yeah. Let me know what you guys think. What's the terpiest weed you guys ever had? Let me know in chat. Leave a comment. Don't forget to hit that like, guys. Subscribe. If you're not subbed up, sub up. I'm live every Thursday. Got a brand new fresh topic that I like to stay relevant, keep up on, guys. Yeah, and just go from there. I like to teach new growers and stuff like that. So if you're a new grower, definitely come and see me every Thursday at 7 p.m. MST, Mountain Standard Time. Definitely, guys. All right, well, I think that's it on my end. I don't see anybody right now in chat, so I think we'll wait on that giveaway until I have a lot more people. Unless there's a bunch of people here, let me know in chat here, guys. And maybe we can maybe we'll do a giveaway. What? Yeah. Yeah, guys, I hope you guys liked today's topic. Yep, brought to you by one and only Ruderalis Rex. And definitely we'll have some fresh topics next Thursday. Maybe I'll have a mashup of some topics, or I'll just have one specific topic that I'd like to talk about. Yeah, definitely, guys. Since there's nobody around. All right, well, I'm going to sign off. You guys definitely have a great evening. And as always, much love, Chromies.